This is Top of the Spots, the podcast that hears from UWS graduates at the top of their game.
Today's guest is James Madison University women's basketball coach and 8-time Sun champ, Neil Harrow. Thanks for joining us, Neil. So first question. You're from Scotland, and I read up from East Kilbride, which is not far outside of Glasgow. So for that city that's so enamoured and obsessed with football, what drew you to basketball?
Good question. I think when I was in school, I knew I wanted to play a sport and get involved. I've come from a sports family, and I just thought it was going to be really hard to get involved in football in a school where, we had, I think, 2,500 people at my high school. So I wasn't making that football team. I wasn't good enough to be in the top, whatever, 15 guys, 20 guys. And we had guys in our school that were already under contract with like Rangers and Hearts. And so I knew I wasn't going to make that team. So I started to kind of explore other sports. And I'd been kind of introduced to basketball a bit through like the local like youth centre, like sports youth centre in East Kilbride through a couple of friends. And I just got into it that way. I really enjoyed the tempo of it and the fast action, and I just really enjoyed it. So I got into basketball right around that time, early secondary school, and just went from there.
So you say you got introduced by the youth centre. Did you watch basketball? Is it a case that you just started playing it and that was it?
I didn't, I can't remember watching much of it. Obviously aware of it and I'd seen it, but I think until I'd really played it, I think I hadn't watched a lot of it, and then I fell in love with it really, really fast, and then watched it all the time after that quite quickly. I didn't take much convincing. I really enjoyed it right away. So then started to really watch it.
So playing it was becoming a coach something that you sort of imagined would happen or wanted to do, or was that just where life took you?
I think every kid has dreams of playing like professional sports, and I had those dreams, but I think the more I played, the better I got. But I also had, I think, a fairly realistic view that I wasn't going to be like, I'm quite short, so I didn't think I was going to be able to play a really, really high level. Um, so I thought, if I really like the game and I understand it, maybe I can help other people that maybe do have a bit more talent, ability, athleticism, whatever. So yeah, I thought about coaching quite quickly, and still played. I still played for a while, but I think there's no limit on how high you can coach, but everybody's got a bit of a limit to where how high you can play a sport. So I thought I'm just that type of person that have really high ambitions of like the sky's the limit. So I wasn't just thinking Scotland. I wasn't just thinking Britain. I was thinking like worldly, like how high can I be involved in the sport? And playing was never going to be worldly for me.
Before I get into your career now, growing up, did you have any sort of inspirations or role models in terms of basketball?
Oh, good question. My first coaches who really made me think. David Turner was my coach in East Kilbride, and he also had high aspirations. Like he kind of like was the first guy to show me that you're not bound by your circumstances. You can make it whatever you really want to be. So he ran our little youth team. He ran it like a more serious program than what it was at the time, and that kind of showed me like that's pretty cool. That's the way to do things. So I would say Davey was early on a role model and like just an influence, a positive influence. And then it came from there. I got a bit better and joined a better team. You start getting other influences that like I was now playing with guys that were on the Scotland team. So that became interesting. Like, oh, like this is what a bigger organization looks like at the national stage. Well, you talking about like early on?
As you found your feet in basketball, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and then my friends that I was hanging out with were all older than me, so they were playing like when I was under 16, under 18, they were playing senior men's. So they kind of introduced me to the world of like adult basketball. Um, so yeah, there were some role models in there as well that helped kind of,
Yeah.
spark the fire.
So now on to your career. You've worked with some intelligent coaches over the years, and would I be right in saying
Uh-huh.
Hugo Gonzalez was quite early on in your career?
Yep,
Um,
yep, yep. Hugo was, yeah, when I first moved to Spain. Yeah.
how much do you feel you learned from him as someone who'd sort of experienced basketball at, like that elite levels?
Hugo's interesting, man. He's a psychological genius. He's very big on winning the mind. Um, he kept the basketball so simple, like so simple, and it was all about the winning the mind. That was that you never knew what he was going to do next, but he seemed to know what everybody else was going to do next. And I think that's my biggest takeaway. That guy's won like 38 leagues, like amazing. Like he would coach like multiple teams in the same year and win three leagues a year. It's like just really, really smart in terms of understanding people.
So how did the move to the United States come about?
Did an exchange year through college and studied over there for a year. And I got involved with the women's basketball team at that college and kept in touch when I came back. And a few years later, after going to Spain, I got an email to see if I wanted to come back again and work there. So that's how I first got involved. I was at Valdosta State, which is a Division two college in Georgia, under Kylie Hill, and that's how I got my first chance to coach in the States was through that program.
He recently returned to the GMU after a sort of spell at the LA Sparks. Your
Yeah.
GMU side, they kind of seem to lose at the moment. They're on brilliant form. How much does that squad mean to you?
A lot. I think I was involved in helping build this team and recruit this roster. So when I left, it was hard to leave, but obviously you can't say no to WNBA. But when I had the chance to come back after the season and join the college season, because the timing was nice, that they don't intertwine the two seasons. The college and the pro season don't intertwine. So when we finished in LA, I had the chance to come back here, and it was really good. It was just a nice feeling because I was very familiar with the staff and the players and the league. So yeah, this program means a lot. Sean O'Regan is the head coach here. He was the guy that really gave me a chance to have a top assistant role and be like his right hand man after 7 years at Troy where we'd had success, but I wasn't Coach Rigby's right hand man. So he gave me a chance to like be his Robin to Batman and Robin type analogy. So I really valued that, and it helped me grow and give me more responsibility. So I'm grateful to him and this university and this program. So yeah, it means a lot. Yep, it's a special place.
Do you feel it's easier to coach a team like GMU when they're constantly winning, the morale's quite high, or do you think that's sort of a product of the coaching?
I think no matter what you're doing, there's challenges. I think right now we've won 16 in a row, maybe. We haven't lost a league game. And like that's really hard because everybody gives you their best shot. Like it's like in football, like if you're a real competitor and you're Motherwell, you're Falkirk, you're whatever, the games you circle is Rangers and Celtic, right? It's easier to get up for those games because you know the implications of if you win that game. Like it, it's going to be so much more special for you to upset the favourites that rather than go to I don't know whatever Hamilton and win. So we are getting everybody's absolute best effort right now, and every coach's best game plan, and that's really really hard. I think it's easier to be second chasing first than first trying to stay first.
This is Top of the Scots, the podcast that hears from UWS graduates at the top of their game.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Top of the Scots. But today I'm joined by Commonwealth Games medalist, Olympian, and the UK's highest ranked badminton player, Kirsty Gilmour. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, from my experience growing up in the west of Scotland, playing badminton seemed to be like this sport you'd enjoy in PE and then never actually decide to take up. So, what was your sort of introduction to badminton? What drew you towards it?
So my dad was kind of a national junior coach for like under 15, and my uncle was a international player. So I was just kind of around badminton a lot, but I used to go along with my dad to like the national squads, and I usually had like a football under my arm and I'd try and beat my keepy uppy score. And then eventually I started picking up a racket and I got a bit more interested in it. But yeah, it was more like kind of family deal for me. And my mum needs you to know that she also played badminton as well. So yeah, and then I was kind of like went in tandem with like football and badminton together until I was about 11. And then I had the opportunity to go to the Glasgow School of Sport. So you choose one of 5 sports. So it's either badminton, gymnastics, athletics, hockey, or swimming. And you specialize in one of those from like 11 years old. So yeah, I kind of made the decision to go kind of full time, as it were, badminton, only badminton, from about 11. But I started probably about age 4.
Yeah. So you says it's sort of like a family thing, and that kind of leads into the next question. Obviously for more like mainstream sports like football and that, it's easier to find like a role model to sort of look up to or base your game on or whatever. With badminton not being that sport, was there anyone that you looked up to getting into badminton?
Um, yeah, probably just like my uncle and my dad and the young players that were around in the national team at the time. Just because when you're like 8, anyone that's like 16 is like a superstar, and you just want to be them and you want to be around them. So probably just the folk that were in the national teams at the time. And yeah, and then as my career kind of went on, I think Andy Murray's definitely someone that I've looked up to a lot, just in terms of like how he presents himself on court, and just the mentality that he has, but also how he conducts himself off court and the decisions that he's made through his career, and who he's chosen to like hitch his wagon to, and who he's chosen to stand up for. And he's always, like definitely at the forefront of supporting women's sports and development as well. So yeah, he's been a pretty big influence if I think about it as well.
Yeah. Getting into your own career, this is sort of a question out of my own interest, but what is it like playing a sort of a single person sport? Like what are the most rewarding or the most challenging aspects of that?
Oof, I'll start with the challenges first, and like you say, just being out there by yourself is pretty brutal sometimes. But at the same time, when it gets down to it, it's all down to you, and it's like that real self-reliance, which like as a good thing. It's just you just need to focus on yourself, and manage yourself and your emotions, and not have to worry about anyone else. But saying that, when you are, on the other side of the world, and it is sometimes literally just me, not even a coach, like to spend 1, 2, 3 weeks by yourself with your own company, organizing all of your training, which you can't do until the night before, all your own match preparation, all those kind of things that come with it is pretty tough. Being on a different a time zone to your family and your friends is rough. But I wouldn't have it any other way in terms of like being a singles player. I do love it. I think it's absolutely no disrespect to doubles players or anything, but I think it's such a pure way to play the sport, and it's I really like to see the development of myself over my entire career, outside of any kind of like partnership changes. The biggest kind of like situational change that I could see would be like when I changed coaches. Like those are kind of markers in my careers, but that's kind of the only like refresh or big change that I get personally, because it's just me and my own brain and my own body that it never really changes. So to see the development over the last 15, 16, 17 years of being like a full-time professional player is interesting. I'm such a different person now than when I was 18 and just starting out on it all, you know?
Yeah. So in these tournaments, you give your all to progress in one match, and then you find out like the next couple of days later you've got another match again. How hard is it to sort of like prepare or recover or whatever when you're just playing like the day after?
Yeah, really, really tough. It's, the match might only last 40 minutes, 1 hour, 1 hour 15 if it's a tough one. But it's, you schedule your entire day around it. You schedule what you eat around it. You schedule when you get up, the recovery that you do, the warm up that you do, the priming that you do. It's all around that kind of one performance. Um, and so yeah, it's tough, and also badminton is just back to back days. So you start in a round of 32, and if you're to win the tournament, you would play and win 5 games back to back. So we don't really get any days off. It's not like Grand Slams and tennis where it's like day on, day off because it lasts for 2 weeks. Ours just lasts from um, Wednesday to Sunday, and get as far as you can, recover as quickly as you can. Generally, if you're put on the first day in the morning and you win, the second day you'll also be on in the morning, so you're not finishing at like 10 at night and then your first game on at 9 the next morning. So you do get a little bit of regularity, but you don't know what the schedule is going to be until about 8 or 9 p.m. the night before. So you're just kind of twiddling your thumbs waiting to see what your next day looks like. To be honest, it's pretty tough.
So you've been to the Olympics 3 times, but I want to know, how were you feeling when you got the first call when you found out you're competing at Rio?
Yeah, that one was pretty special. Although I had actually had a pretty bad knee injury in April, and then the Olympics was in August, and I had torn my meniscus in my knee in April. So the feeling of like getting that letter through from the BOA was pretty special, and then it's followed up by a letter from like the First Minister, and it's followed up by a letter from the Prime Minister and stuff. So it is quite special. But it was a little bit dampened by the injury that I had, to be honest. And then Tokyo, that was a whole different experience as well because of the pandemic and being pushed back a year and everything, which I think was the totally right decision. And then so I think Paris is kind of the only time I've ever felt like I was fully physically ready and that it was a full Olympic Games. So Paris was kind of a meeting of all the worlds and everything really coming together. And I do think I played some of my best badminton at Paris, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to ask, when you got the call for Paris, was it sort of like a case of, not you've done this before, but like you were more prepared for that? Is it still the same sort of excited feeling you get the first time?
Still definitely the excited feeling for like elements of it. But also the there is like the I've done this before, and you kind of know not to get too caught up in like the there's some exciting parts that can drag you away from like the reason that you're there. Like you want to go and explore the entire village and see what's happening and like go and see what's out there, but like that'll add an extra 15,000 steps onto your count for the day, and you actually really need to recover and not spend too much energy. And not to say that I did everything perfect in Paris, that's definitely not. I still felt like a real uh, pull to make the most of it in terms of social media and like post as much as I could or get as much content as I could. And I really wish I'd been able to like resist that urge. So there's definitely but that urge didn't even like exist in Rio because social media wasn't what it was
Yeah.
then. Now then, so each iteration of the games has been such different challenges. But I definitely felt more experienced and more in control by the time I got around to Paris because I've had 3 Olympic Games and 4 Commonwealth Games under my belt by then. So I definitely felt calmer about the whole thing.